I've gone completely off of this.
No. I don't say, oh, what wine pairing do you like? I only go to places where I can only bring my own wine.
Hi, I'm Tim Lewis from Sorrells Custom Wine Cellars. Today I'm here with Nick. So, Nick, if you want to just give us a quick introduction.
Sure, please. Hi, I'm Nick Armstrong. I am the founder of Avint-Garde Fine Wine. We are a very young, independent online wine merchant based in Southwest London. We launched in April of 2025. Prior to that, I covered the US for Livex, which some people may or may not know as the leading fine wine exchange in the world. And before that, I worked on Wall Street. And before that, I was a paratrooper in the US Army. So I've had a very diverse career, but I think I finally found it in wine. And, hopefully this is the final chapter. It sounds quite ominous saying that, but I'm happy that my path has led me to where I'm at.
All right. So, just out of curiosity, you obviously brought up in North Carolina then. So, what brought you to the UK to start with?
Yeah,
come on.
True love. True love is the easy answer. So, I was stationed kind of all over the place in the Army, Oklahoma, Germany, Colorado, 3 deployments to Afghanistan, and on the 3rd deployment, decided I needed a career where the destiny was in my own hands and I could make some decisions because I didn't want to go back that 3rd time. And of course, you salute and execute, and I did that. But so I got out, did an MBA. We can come back to that because there was a juncture where I was like, okay, do I do wine or do I do finance? And I went the finance route, ended up in New York, which is where I wanted to be, and met my wife there, who's English, and her job brought her over. I was working for Merrill Lynch, so a global investment bank, and was able to move my seat from New York to London. And that's the Reader's Digest version.
Wow. Okay. So obviously Merrill Lynch is in finance, so I can understand that finance in your wine habit, so to speak. So with that, how did it sort of progress into the wine trade?
Sure.
Right? Or where did it sort of really start to kick in for you?
Yeah, I think with most people that get into wine, you don't get into wine unless you have kind of a romantic view of it. And there is a lot of romance in wine, and whether it's with the land, the terroir, the regions, the producers, the stories, the families, how it ages, so on and so forth. There is a lot of romance to it. But when I moved to London, that's really when I started kind of collecting wine, and would buy. So primarily my main merchant was Berry Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how I got to know Livex. And they look at, there's a lot of kind of data analysis that comes with wine that I don't want to say takes the romanticism away from it, but sheds light on how it can be this dynamic market. And so gradually I would say the romanticism did fade away, and the more analytical side came out. And okay, I'm being offered this here. Who else is offering it? Should I buy another vintage? Should I buy a back vintage? Should I maybe pass on this one? And that kind of dynamic nature of it really kind of, I think, triggered something in my brain that working, in the city or in New York, did as well, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, it totally, because it obviously, what was the first sort of wines that you were looking at? Were the Bordeaux, the Burgundies, that type? Because I find with a lot of clients, it always starts with the Bordeaux and the Burgundies, but actually the world of wine is huge, and there's so many different producers and variations across grapes and everything like that. So, was it a Bordeaux? Was it I'm curious to see where their journey started.
Well, I mean, so there's 2 things I'd say there. One is in the global wine, I would say all roads lead to Burgundy, right?
Yeah.
We might talk about that later. But in the States, all roads lead to Napa Valley. And so you talk about fine wine in the US, and you are talking about Napa Valley. So I would say there was a lot of romanticism around California, and I would say Napa in particular. But then also with the Army. So my first assignment, I was in a unit split between Germany and Italy.
Oh, okay.
And I was north of the Alps, as it were, but had a lot of colleagues in Italy. And you would talk to these people, and they would talk about their wine collections. Oh, I live in Italy. I'm building a wine collection. I was like, wow, I'm 23 years old. I didn't grow up from North Carolina, not from a family that drinks wine. There's not wine on the table at Christmas or anything. So I'm like out of university, and these people are amassing wine collection. I was like, what is that? And it turns out I would love to go back and talk to these people and see what they were buying, what these wine collections were, because they would just go around northern Italy, so it was around Venice, Veneto region, and visit producers and pick up, whatever they were visiting.
Yeah.
And it's kind of similar in Napa, right? Where people go out and they will make appointments at wineries maybe they have no connection to, and then there's this kind of loyalty built.
Yes,
like the
absolutely,
the mailing list concept. And so those were kind of, I would say, the first two. And then moving to London, there's the stereotype of claret, right? And it is Bordeaux, and it's like old Bordeaux and buying en primeur and that sort of thing. So it's a bit of an amalgamation of those three. I would say Napa, Italy, and Bordeaux.
So if you look at it like that, then, so what was the first standout bottle that you bought and you went, oh my God, this is so good?
That's a good question. I think, what I tend to find, and one of the things I love the most about fine wine is the people that you come across.
Yep.
And it's not necessarily the wine that you buy.
But it's a story that goes
Not
with it
even.
as well.
No, it's the bottles that people open up
Oh, okay.
for you. You know what I mean? Or like you're at a table. I think that's more revelatory. And I think about, I say those three, right? And now I'm going to throw in another region. A good friend from university, his family runs a charity. And I went to, in New York, one of their receptions, and they were serving Comte de Champagne from Taittinger. And at this point, I'm like, I don't know, 25, 30, not 30. And I was like, I've had champagne, I've had nice champagne, but this, what is this?
Yeah.
Right. And so that, I would say, was quite a revelation.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So we come back now and go look at what you're dealing with, obviously all the wine, different restaurants and stuff like that. What's the one that you'd say that is one of the standout wines or wine areas or producers that you think are, well, hang on, value for money, the taste, that type of thing, a little bit out of the ordinary? So that's a tough question.
That is a tough question. So, if I think, no. If I think about,
Put you on the spot.
No. Was this in the?
No, it was no. This is all off the cuff.
Yeah, no. So I went earlier this week to a master class put on by the Newport family in Portugal, and Portugal has this reputation for port, right? And especially being in London, and there's quite this kind of, there's a strong Anglo-Portuguese connection with the families and everything. But I've never done a deep dive into the kind of non-fortified still wines of Portugal. And this tasting was a revelation. There's so many indigenous varieties in Portugal, so don't ask me, which grade, this, that, and the other.
Yeah, no.
But there was a particular white wine called Coche, and I'm sure there's a bit of a nod to Coche de Riz, but there's also, Coche is Portuguese for coach. So maybe, that's how they get away with calling, and they're licking off Coche de Riz's trademark. But it had this insane kind of, I describe it as burnt popcorn reduction, which I think doesn't sound very good. And I think on the first sniff, I was like,
what the hell?
What is that?
Yeah.
And then throughout the night, kind of kept coming back to it. And it's like, it just grew on me. And so that, like, the non-fortified still wines of Portugal, I think, are more and more becoming a thing. And one I hope to explore more. And I hope that, grows in the market.
All right. Okay. Well, obviously now you can sell it. That'd be fine. So for me, my wine journey's been quite long, and there are certain wines that really stick out for me. So we've done these podcasts before, and for me, it's San Leonardo. Going there, seeing the producer, visiting the vineyard and stuff like that, and that brings me back so many fond memories. And it started my wine collection, if you like. 2004, it actually was the year that I started drinking, shall we say, nicer wine. So for you, is there a particular wine or a particular year or anything that really sort of stands out for you that sort of is your go-to wine?
Yeah, so I would say in terms of like collecting and so on, it's not something I really started until I moved here in 2017. Just because in the Army, it was quite transient, right? And
Okay.
the government movers aren't really handling moving fine wine from one place to another. Although I would love to go back and talk to my Italian colleagues and how did you get those collections from Venice or Vicenza.
You ought to go back to them and say, we've got any for sale?
Let me see what you
Let me have your call.
and turns out it's all prosecco and whatever. But and then even in New York, I think the notion for Americans is of wine collecting, and I don't know if you've seen this in your work, but this concept of in-bond storage. And I have a wine collection, but it's in Cambridgeshire or Oxfordshire or whatever, in some tunnels that used to store RAF bombs.
Yeah, that's
during World War II.
Yeah.
And so to me, it was always an aspirational thing. And it was like when I have a big house, in the suburbs of wherever America, that's what you do, right?
Yeah.
And then when I moved to London, and discovered, okay, you can have a wine collection, and you don't have to have it stored it at your house. And so that's kind of when I really kind of got into it. And like I said, it was probably Bordeaux to start, but then, London has such a robust wine community, right? And you could go to a different tasting every night of the week from different parts of the world, meeting the producers, meeting, the winemakers. And I think, okay, cool. Like I guess this is what British wine collectors do. They collect Bordeaux. Now let me get out and try things.
It's very eclectic, I find. There's so many different variations.
For sure. No, for sure. I mean, like I said, going to Portuguese tasting earlier in the week, off to Burgundy, with some people from London next week. Everybody wants to come here, right? And as far as I can tell, London is the center of the fine wine universe. And so, so it kind of started with Bordeaux, and through kind of the experiences, through tastings, through various organizations and clubs, like expanding that out.
You've got to pick one, just sort of one that's going to, that's the signature one for you, for the vineyard, for the producer. Just like you go to your wine cellar and go, right, I'm gonna that's my
So what I would say is it has to be Realm Cellars. And I was thinking about this. It has to be American.
right.
I think I don't want to like wear my proverbial military uniform too much, but I think it is a core part of my identity. So if it's going to be a wine, it has to be American. And to say something along the lines of Harlan Estate, I don't know if you've had Harlan. I
had a little sip.
And that's the same, right? Like most people.
Wow. Yeah.
I think philosophically, and I've had Realm. I visited Realm a couple of times, or not Realm. Sorry, Harlan. I visited Harlan a couple of times. I love their philosophy of it's American exceptionalism. We want to be a first growth in the United States, but it's inaccessible. If you're talking, I don't know, 1,200, 1,400 pounds a bottle. And I like to think of myself personally, Avint-Garde as a business. We are accessible, So, okay, so it's got to be American. It's got to be great. So, but it has to be accessible. So Harlan goes out the window. Realm, if you talk about, they have they eschew tradition for their own philosophy. They try to be a more modern producer, and I think you can look at the artwork on their bottles, their kind of everything about them, their distribution model. The juice is fantastic. The scores tell the story, so I don't have to sit here and tell you all about how great the wine is. The wine is great. So their owner is a military veteran, so that kind of hits.
Okay, yeah.
And I visited them, and I've been on a 4x4 going up to the top of their property, the top of Wapo Hill, looking out at across Napa, where they farm, where some of the biggest names in wine farm. And that's a special experience for me.
Wow, well, that sounds spectacular. I mean, for me, as I said before, going to San Leonardo, driving around in a 2CV type of thing around the vineyards, the dogs running next to you, the German shepherds running up and down, going through the vineyards. It's so spectacular, and it will live for me for the rest of my life, and also the wine. So obviously I can see the connection there. And the other things when you're, London's now become very good for all the restaurants and all these types of things. We do a lot of work with obviously all the good chefs in London. What sort of, what has been your best pairing, should we say? So you say, if you've gone into a restaurant and you've gone, the sommelier or yourself has chosen this wine and gone, oh my God, the match between that and that has been absolutely spectacular.
Oh, that's a good question. So I think, having now worked in wine for 4 years, and I talked earlier about the analytical side of wine, and knowing what wine costs makes buying wine
in a restaurant
difficult.
Yeah.
And that's not to say, like, I have a deep appreciation for the role that wine plays in restaurants, in terms of the commercial success, and also what you're paying for, right? In terms of to have quality wine service, to have your sommeliers. Sorry,
I've gone completely off of this.
No. I don't say, oh, what wine pairing do you like? I only go to places where I can only bring my own wine. Where were we? Pairings.
Yeah.
So knowing what wine costs, I have an appreciation for what you pay for when you buy a bottle of wine, and when you pay a markup over the retail, and you're paying for fine wine service, you're paying for the glassware, the education of the sommelier, everything, right? And that's not to say that I never buy wine in restaurants. However, again, if I compare New York to London, some places in New York do corkage, right? But
yes,
it's not a thing. It's not a thing in New York like it is here, right? No, I mean, maybe it's becoming more of a thing, but certainly when I was there, it wasn't. You wouldn't scrutinize, okay, where are we going to go eat that we can take our own bottles? I will say, the first time I had a first growth was in a BYO Chinese in Midtown Manhattan with the worst glassware. And again, like, that's a very memorable.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, oh, I can't believe I'm drinking Lafite from this terrible wine glass. I'd rather actually pay a bit more, have a nice, have a sommelier talk me through the wine, the vintage, so on and so forth. But good pairings in town. I'm a big fan. Well, I mean, I'd be remiss not to mention. So we live in Clapham.
Yep.
And we're spoiled for choice down there.
Oh yeah.
So we have Trinity right at our doorstop.
Yeah.
Which has an incredible wine list.
Spectacular wine cellar as well, the one.
Yeah, spectacular wine cellar. That that wasn't a layup for Tim there, but they've got a friendly corkage policy as well. So that's kind of our go-to special restaurant. Take a nice bottle of champagne, nice bottle of Burgundy. We also have Chez Bruce, which again talk about what you're paying for in a restaurant. When you look at a restaurant's wine list, and all you see are 2020, 2021 recent vintages.
Yeah.
What are you paying for? And you go to a place like Chez Bruce in particular, and they do an incredible job of buying wine, laying it down, and putting it on the list when they think it's ready at accessible prices as well. So yeah, I mean, I've had great pairings at Chez Bruce that we paid for. So I think Valentine's Day 2020. So my daughter was born 8th of January 2020. So this is like 6 weeks after our first child was born, and
Needed a drink.
we had a babysitter, and you know, basically she said, "Look, you guys go out and enjoy this."
Lovely.
And had a Moonray Gibourg, Nuit Saint Georges. I forget the vintage, but with that kind of old school French British food. That's a pairing that I remember quite well. In terms of taking, we were talking a little bit about Hunan. I love champagne and Chinese food.
Okay.
So this summer had a Ules Colin Maillon with this menu that you don't know what's coming out, right? And so it's tough to pair to that. But champagne went great, kind of slightly oxidized, richer champagne with Chinese food. I mean, that to me is an incredible pairing, incredible wine, incredible food.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I must admit that I went to my experiences, or I went to Longville Manor in Jersey, and he does a great job because he buys from auctions and stuff like that. So he buys some very old vintages and stuff like that. So, but the price point is really, really good. And obviously, we built a very large cellar there, and you can go in there and enjoy it. So the pairing for me was, crab, and it was an Australian Riesling, which I'd never picked, but the sommelier went and picked it for us. Said, "Look, leave it to you, expert." It was absolutely fabulous. And it's one of the things that I sort of, for me, when I go to restaurants, it's like you talk to the sommelier. I mean, you know more about wine than me personally. So when you go to a restaurant, do you talk to the sommelier and go, right, do you rely on him, or do you just take a judgment actually when you're in the restaurant to see how good the sommelier is?
Yeah, it depends. And sorry, going back to the pairing, not again to tee one up for you, but we went almost a year ago, maybe earlier in the year, to Roll 5.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Jason's place.
And what I thought was very cool there, they gave us a tour of the place, and the kind of, I don't want to spoil for anyone who hasn't been, but the kind of secret door there where they have the wines lined up.
The flight ones.
And those are the flights. And to see, you can get Petrus with a pairing. You can get Echem with a pairing.
It does DRC as well by the glass as well, which is.
I don't remember in the.
Okay.
In the door, but and we didn't do the prestige pairing, but the fact that you can get Petrus.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Bucket list wines in a restaurant was very, very cool. Sorry, what was
the pairings with the?
Oh, relying on the sommelier.
Yeah. She's very good though.
Rolling 5. Yeah. So I mean, if you ask my wife, right, she would say that I talk too much to the sommelier, right? Because I think when you meet someone who's equally interested in wine, you kind of feed off each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, you look through the list and you see where particular values are, or wines that you might not see on a list. You can kind of chat about them and where they get it from and how long have they had it, and they love to tell you that, oh, it's our last bottle, or we opened one of those last week, or whatever. So I would say I would rely on a sommelier a bit, because depending on the place, the list might be a tome and you don't have time to go through it all. And say, okay, well, this is what we're thinking of eating, this is what we like to drink, is there anything that's interesting, or rely on their expertise? Because again, like if you're paying restaurant prices, that's part of what's included in the price.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah. What do you cook at home then?
What do we cook at home?
And basically, do you go wine, food, or food, wine?
It depends. So if it's just the two of us, it's probably food and then wine. I love to barbecue.
What, even during the winter?
A bit during the winter, but like
Umbrella.
yeah. No, not with the umbrella. It has to be dry out. And Sam, my wife, is, I don't want to say she doesn't like white wine, but she said I'm more a red person than a white person.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay, cool. We're cooking something on the barbecue, and we're gonna do red wine. And so is that, what are we cooking? And if it's chicken, it's probably the lighter side of, I don't know, Grenache, Pinot Noir. And then if it's, I don't know, steak, sausages, whatever, it's probably something a bit heavier, into the, I don't know, Cabernet, Syrah type realm. But then I would say when we host, and we really, really enjoy hosting, it's wine first for me. And it's like, okay, who's coming?
Who's coming?
Who's coming? How much do I know about them? Like what they like, and how do I give them a nice time? Open some bottles that maybe I've been looking for an excuse to open, and then okay, let's structure the menu around that.
See, yeah, 'cause that's why I like it, having the collection at home, and then just sitting there looking at everything and going. Obviously, you've been to our old versus new, and it's having, going into that wine cellar and then picking all the different wines because the different people are coming. So then it's fun. I once had a client that his cellar was huge, absolutely huge. I mean, there's so many bottles of wine, it's ridiculous how he kept track of them. It was bonkers. But what he did was he put them in price category.
Right.
And then he depends who was coming, depends on where price category he went to go and pick all the wine. So you didn't actually pick it on the style, he picked it on the price.
Right.
Which was, I found quite strange, but it worked for him. So that's quite unusual.
Well, so our setup at home, which will change here in a couple weeks,
Yep.
is we've got a Eurocov, and I know what's in there, and I know where it's in there. And then we've got, it actually might be a Tanglewood rack next to the fridge.
Yep.
And so if I'm away traveling or doing something and not home, I will get a text from my wife saying, okay, what can I open? Right?
Yeah.
And the rule
is,
is, if it's not in the fridge, have at it.
Yeah. So I have 2 flight boxes and they're full of wine. So I've told my kids, as you walk into the cellar, those are yours. You can help yourself to any of that, like anything else. Do not touch. I said, because I need that for people who are actually going to appreciate it and not quaffed it down.
Exactly. So exactly.
I'm actually curious because it's quite a tough market out there, and it's really I've seen a lot of wine merchants struggling, and it's post-COVID, if you like, it's been challenging to say the least. And all of a sudden, then you start your business, which is you're doing it at probably the toughest time.
Sure.
What on earth did you think about that?
Yeah, so I think the first thing I would say is, going back, putting my finance hat back on, is I go to a quote from Warren Buffett that is, be greedy when others are fearful and be fearful when others are greedy. And so the fact that there is some trepidation, I hesitate to say panic in the market, kind of gives me a bit of confidence. I think people are, despite kind of macroeconomic headwinds, people are still eating out at restaurants. People are still buying wine. You just have to be extra compelling in terms of what you're selling. And I think that is where I can add some value. And if I can source wine well below what the market price is, and that's interesting to my book of clients, then they'll buy. If I can tap into the global market, and find gems that is interesting to people that are buying wine, then it'll move. I think there's some of the challenges facing maybe more established merchants, the incumbents, is they're not as nimble, right? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I don't have the infrastructure that a lot of them have in terms of headcount, in terms of real estate, in terms of stock that I'm sat on that's been built up over a number of years. So I try to be light in terms of where the capital goes, how much wine sits on my balance sheet. You know, I'm not I'm kind of working from a home office, and I don't think that needs to change for the foreseeable future. And yeah, just being nimble, I think, is a massive advantage in this market.
So you're small, nimble, and stuff like that. So you know the aspirations. Where do you see the marketplace going? 'Cause I'm curious because for us it's obviously very different, and we deal with different people and different comments about the market. Where do you see it going, and also where do you see your business? How does your business model go in the next, say, year or two?
Yeah,
Because it is quite challenging.
for sure. No, and it is, and that's not to say that everything that I buy or give my customers access to flies off the shelf, right? I'm not going to say that it's not a challenge. It is a challenge, and I think launching a business in any environment, even in a booming environment, is a challenge, right?
Yeah.
Like whether it's marketing. You know, I've done an MBA. I did the marketing class, and it's one thing to do it in a book, right?
Yeah.
It's another thing to do it in the real world.
Yeah.
So it is a challenging market, and it's also challenging being a new player, right? And establishing trust. And why is that wine so cheap? Did it fall off the back of the truck? You know, and it's like,
And the
no,
provenance of
it's
it,
in bond, it's in bond,
yeah.
and whatever. So, where do I see it going? I don't know. I think it would be foolish to sit here and tell you that the wine market is bouncing back. It's on its way to recovery or anything. And I hope that my aim is that I'm building a business that is viable regardless of the market, right? And I am able to buy wine relatively cheap now because it's a tough market and
Yeah,
need
yeah.
cash more than they need wine. And when the tide turns, whenever that is, and I won't sit here and speculate on that, there will still be people that need cash more than wine at any given time. And I hope that, through kind of my model, I can provide some liquidity to them in a way that's mutually beneficial. And so, yeah, I think growing my reach is, if I've got a few hundred people on my list now, I'd love to have a few thousand people, who know about me and are buying from me, engaged customers. Yeah, staying nimble, but also I'd love to bring someone on and grow the on-trade, restaurant bar business, someone that has a Rolodex of sommeliers and wine buyers in the on-trade.
Yeah, no, it's definitely different, and it's been challenging, I think, across the board. So I think you being nimble and everything like that, it makes difference. But say, for instance, you're buying from all these different avenues. Do you feel they have the need to say, right, I'm not going to sell that, I'm going to drink that? I mean, have you had a parcel of wine and gone, oh my God, that is so good, that's such good. Actually, that year is spectacular. That is fantastic. Sod that, I'm going to keep it to sell.
Yeah. Constantly.
Oh, okay.
Constantly. And whether I act on that is another thing. And I knew even when I launched it, so I'm going I said next week I'm going to Burgundy. And it's for this wine and hip hop party.
Wine
and hip hop. It's put on by Jeremy Sayas of Domaine Dujac, and it's just this insane collection of people from all over the world that come into Burgundy for a few nights, drink crazy wines. They bring in hip hop artists, so like Mike D from the Beastie Boys.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's great. Anyway, I say that.
I'm too old for that.
I say that in the context of hip hop is like, since I was a child, is like a big part of my life. Like if you looked at my playlist.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I love hip hop. He's like kind of 90s hip hop. And so in the context of your question, the Notorious B.I.G. has a song called The 10 Crack Commandments.
Yeah.
One of which is never get high on your own supply, right?
Oh, right, okay.
I knew starting this business, like I have to keep that in mind.
That's a great reference point. I love that.
And there are, I don't know, there have been some wines that have come across that, okay, cool, I'll have one of those. I never if it's one of one, the customer comes first. But if there's a parcel of, say, 10 cases or something, not to reference.
Oh, not in the reference way we're here. Yeah.
But yeah, I might take one for the personal collection for sure.
Oh yeah, I must admit I would definitely have to. Yeah, definitely take this. Hip hop.
Hip hop, yeah.
Wow,
Yeah,
really?
yeah, for sure.
How did you get into hip hop?
Yeah, I don't.
Sorry,
Well,
that's
I
just
mean,
mad.
oh gosh, Tim. You might.
I'm older than you, so
Yeah.
therefore mine is I'm the '80s boy. I'm sort of like somewhere around there, sort of maybe late '70s going into '80s, but hip hop.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm perfectly honest, it's so embarrassing. It's so
Come on,
embarrassing.
then, Colin. This is
But
on camera,
I
by
know
the
exactly.
way.
I was like, can we stop rolling? I was really into aggressive inline skating. Let's call it. That's a cool way to say it, right? Rollerblading, like skate, like X Games type rollerblading.
Yeah.
Like massive, massive, massive as a kid. And I would watch these videos. They put these VHS. It was VHS. Now I'm aging myself, and the soundtracks of those rollerblading videos are like the soundtrack of my youth that I still listen to today, and they're like so evocative of like this time being a, I don't know, 13, 14-year-old kid rollerblading with my, best friends trying to, I don't know, do jumps and spins and so embarrassing.
Slide down
Exactly.
handrails and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, what you're telling me then is you're an adrenaline junkie then, yes?
I think that honestly, that's fair. That is fair. Yeah.
So obviously, army and that type of thing. So parachuting,
Yeah.
paragliding, done any of this,
I mean, I was a paratrooper in the army, so I did that, and I think being stationed in Germany and getting paid to jump out of airplanes is like that was like the best combination for me. That was a dream job. But if I can tie it to wine, so last time I was in California, was autumn of 2022. And it was a reunion of my unit from Afghanistan, my first deployment. And one of the events was a local skydiving school offered to take as many of us up and go out as we wanted. And so this was in northern Sonoma County. And so driving up, you see all these places that you read the names on the bottles, and you're like, oh,
yeah.
there's Geyserville, and there's all these places. It was always tandem. I've never been certified to go solo, but the guy who went with me was like, oh, you're into wine, like that. He's like, I don't really know that much about wine, but I grew up here. And so we're up in this plane, and he's like, and so if you look out, you can see there's the San Pablo Bay, and that's where the fog comes in, and and this is like wine education. And he's like, oh,
Wow.
there's the Russian River Valley, and there's the Alexander Valley. I was like, dude, you know more about wine than like a lot of probably wine professionals. You could talk through the Sonoma and Napa. There's the Mayacamas or the Vaca range, and it was great. And then it was like, okay, we're at 14,000 feet. Out we go. So
what was that? So jumping out like that over all this spectacular scenery must have been so. I mean, I wouldn't do it, right? Because there's no way I'm getting in a plane and jumping out of it. There's absolutely no way. But I mean, for I can imagine the experience.
Incredible. And it was November. Obviously it's nice to be in wine country, wherever that is in the world when the fruit's in bloom and you can see what's happening. But I think, I don't know, the second best time, or maybe the even better time, is in the autumn when the colors are changing and you can see the like distinct different plots. And that was, every skydive is a skydive to remember, but that was definitely a skydive to remember.
Yeah, I can well imagine. I mean, I have enough trouble trying to go up in a helicopter and looking down. That's it. My legs start going wobbly, and that's it. I'm done. Yeah, it's fine. One thing I wanted to ask, actually, I know we still, but when you're in Germany, how long were you in Germany for? Did you get to taste all the wines, or did you just stick to beer? Because obviously you've got the two.
Yeah. So where I was stationed was a town called Bamberg. That if for like people who really love beer will know Bamberg. And it has the most breweries per capita in the world. So it's a town of something like 80,000 people. People are going to fact check this. But it's something like 80,000 people. There's 100 breweries.
Wow.
And there's, I don't know, 9 or 10 major ones. The beers are awesome. They're famous for a style called Rauch beer. So it's quite smoky. One of which you can get in London. And it tastes like drinking a ham sandwich, if that makes sense. Yeah.
You got to send it to. I've got to try that.
So they're very famous for that. However, Bamberg is not too far east of kind of Würzburg, and there is a kind of northern Bavarian wine. You know, the Bockbootel. Like,
yeah.
I don't know if anyone ever asked for like racks for the
No, not very often anyway.
And it's that kind of that style of wine. And there's a town we'd go every year called Zeil am Main. There's just this little village not too far from Würzburg that, I don't know, probably a couple thousand people live in. But then they throw this wine fest in the summertime. And it's like Oktoberfest, right? It's lederhosen,
Oh, really?
girdle dresses and all that. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people descend on this town to drink wine for a weekend. And it was a really cool insight into kind of German wine culture, for sure.
Really?
Yeah, but never did like any of the more famous Riesling areas or anything. And I wish I kind of if I known what I know now, of course I would have. But yeah, it was mostly beer.
Yeah, because it's quite an underrated wine region. It's, you know, there's some spectacular wines over there. It's just, you know, but obviously it's dominated by the beer culture over there. So I imagine being in the army, it's more sort of beer led than it would be wine led. So it's just interesting.
Yeah.
But I think for me, it is the different types of wines and the memories it gives you. And I mean, the wines I've all got. A lot of the wines I drink regularly all got memories.
Yeah,
I've got memories, and I just every time you open it, you go, oh, do you know what? It's fantastic. It's lovely, and then it brings that all coming back to you. It's quite fun.
Yeah. One of the ones, I mean, we don't have to get into it, but I thought one of the interesting ones was like the quick fire, drink it or cellar it, and I think the in the UK where you have this bonded, you have your collection.
Yeah.
Out of reach,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
of your own hands, of anyone else's hands, and then having stuff at home, because it's going to be nice stuff that goes in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But having nice stuff accessible at home, but also having the majority of it still locked away in Staffordshire or wherever it is. So
Yeah, and so obviously my cellar is at work. So obviously the issue I've got is I've got to pick it and then bring it, but I also have the bonded stuff. And I keep looking through the bonded list and going, I should really pull that in. I should really pull that. And I'm going, no, I've got enough to go through. But I do enjoy actually going through the wine cellar and then going, I'm not going to drink that one tonight. I'm going to drink that one. And when I'm having a stressful day and there's a lot going on, I just literally walk into the cellar at work and then pretend to pick bottles
right.
the weekend, so then I can go through everything. Because again, it just brings back so many fond memories. And I go, okay, someone's coming around. Well, I'm not going to take that one. I want to take that one.
Yeah.
And it depends who's. So if I belong to a little wine club, and they literally, they've all got their own wine collections, but for some reason, literally they come in and we literally video my wine cellar and I go, right, well, we're going to drink that one tonight, that one, because I've got such an eclectic collection.
Totally.
And you just look at it and go, actually, I've got two of those. We'll drink one of those.
Yeah.
And I just love it.
Yeah.
So when we do your wine wall for you, you can have the same scenario. Yeah. I look forward to going around to drinking your wine. Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Did you want to mention Sorrells or you not?
No, I don't. No, it's fine. I mean, to be honest, we've done a lot for yourself, so I think we can put that on the podcast as well. So yeah.
I mean, I not to insist, but like I'm happy to, because I think I don't know how much you know, Rosie, but Sorrells is the second company we instructed, and
But
I would say from the first time that Tim connected with our architect and our builder, there was this assurance, this like ease that came that we were seriously lacking from the first company that we instructed.
I think for me, that for you, it was, and that's what annoys me about is I know how much joy these things bring.
Yeah.
And I keep saying to everybody, I know how much fun they are, and I just want to make it right that people can have so much fun as I do with it.
Yeah.
And it's, and when people, they don't have the same passion, and you just look at it and go, right, well, that's going to look amazing. But then you go, well, okay, well, what about a large format bottle? What about this? What about that? And it becomes a set. And I always remember we did a wine cellar for a guy many, 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 many years ago. And his wife went, why are you having a wine cellar built? And he went, because it's my passion, look, everything else in the house. And afterwards, she said, I just love it. And we went there and we've been there for a few wine tastings with them. And she said, it's now become such an integrated part of our hosting.
Right.
That I now understand why, it brings so much fun and joy, because you can go around and pick and it becomes a discussion point. It's a great way to start the evening off, and also a great way of ending the evening.
Yeah.
So, and it just annoys me that people out there don't have the same passion, if you like,
Sure.
for it.
Sure.
When your instances, and it just wound me up.
Yeah.
And it's just not fair.
Yeah.
It's not fair.
No.
It's like
Yeah. Well, I'm glad it worked out the way it has.
It has, no. And so a couple of weeks' time,
That's it.
you'll be there.
That's it. And I'm so glad to have come out too, right? They insisted I come out to the factory and the office and see. Okay, cool. Yeah.
I only want to show off of my wine collection.
Well, I've seen the bottles you bring to these things.
We've got we're definitely gonna do a few more then next year, aren't we? Old versus new, yeah. I'll just have to pick a few more bottles up because there's I'm running out. That's what I tell the wife anyway.
Mate, there's plenty in there. Cool.
That's
All
fabulous.
right.
Thank you very much.
Tim,
Well, thank
really,
you.
really.
Oh, I
Thank you very
appreciate
much.
it. That's brilliant.